All right. It's Monday, and it's the CXM experience. I'm Grad Khan, CXO at Sprinklr. I'm here with Neha, our
Hi.
breath yogi. Hi, Neha. So today's we're going to start off with some pretty serious stuff to kind of get the ball rolling, because it's just impossible to ignore the events in India. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing for our employees in India. India, of course, is a really important part of the Sprinklr family. I'm going to talk a little bit about challenge of leadership in these kinds of times. And then I think we want to, get some inspiration and some thinking about how people can work through these very challenging times. So for those of you who may not know, India is in the midst of a COVID crisis like no other country's ever seen. They just posted a world record number of COVID cases, and oxygen is running out in most of the major cities. This is a Reuters article from April 22nd, so this a few days ago. The tally was 314,000 infections on the Thursday, the 22nd. So more than 300,000 infections a day, and that's what they're measuring. Probably 4 times that, because they're obviously not testing everybody. Hospitals are full. They're running out of oxygen. Doctors are advising patients to stay at home. Crematoriums are building funeral pyres in their parking lots.
Wow.
And running 24/7. So there are no beds, no oxygen, and it's a very, very challenging time for all of our friends in India. So I want to talk a little bit about. So obviously, we have a very important part of our company is in India, and some great friends of mine, and some fantastic Sprinklerites are there. So our hearts go out to them, and we feel for them. We're here for them. At Sprinklr, we believe that we operate as a family, so we definitely are in family mode for sure. I'm not going to go into details in the public forum, but we had an emergency town hall this morning for all the employees in the affected area, and the whole executive leadership team was on, and we talked through a bunch of measures to help our employees, help work with them. But a big part of it was, how do we support each other, and how do we help each other through these times? And Neha, you just taught me a few minutes ago about something called leadership in VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous times. And certainly this is one of them. India's COVID rate had kind of spiked like everybody else's. It had gone way down. There's a really amazing chart, which obviously we can't show on the podcast. But if you look at like last April, they had kind of almost no cases. By October, they sort of spiked around 100,000 a day. And that had declined, and by sort of early 2021, they were almost at sort of like, spring 2020 levels. So they were under 25,000 cases a day. And suddenly, almost out of nowhere, really, like literally since the beginning of April, so in the last 20 days, it's gone from that low level, which looked like they had it under control, to more than 300,000 cases a day and rising, which is terrifying to see. Then the spike is literally 3 times the size of the highest spike at the point where we thought COVID was at its worst. So this is very challenging. It's going to be very challenging in the country. It's going to be very challenging for the country, and it's got an overburdened healthcare system already that's obviously getting a shock to the system that's not really possible to manage. So let's talk about that. Neha, you obviously I've got a lot of close ties there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. How are you thinking about it? And then what can we do, and how do we talk about managing in a situation like this?
Yeah, no, thanks for talking about this, because this is definitely top of mind for all of us. And, my heart goes out to all our Sprinklr family and my other family. So it's a very, very challenging time, and definitely something unprecedented. So yeah, there's this concept, so to speak, in leadership that we talk about leading through challenging times, like which are highly volatile. There's uncertainty. You don't know, whether you're going to find a bed or not find a bed. When is this situation getting over? It's very complex. I was just scrolling through the Slack channel and just seeing all the messages. I don't know if you're on that channel, Grad. Like,
yeah.
That in itself was just going through those messages was a little overwhelming. And I can't imagine the people who are in the situation, what they must be going through. And it definitely is very ambiguous. The shortage of, vaccines are being sold in the black market, so to speak. And there's shortage of oxygen. So it's a very, very challenging time.
Well, what I'm also
Absolutely.
hearing is that the vaccines that are available in India, because they don't have, they're using the AstraZeneca, and I think it's another one I'm not familiar with, but they're sort of an older version of a vaccine, like using part of the virus, kind of classic way vaccines are made, and they're not using the mRNA versions that Pfizer and Moderna invented. And so I've heard that the COVID strains that are running through India right now are not affected by the vaccine's not effective against them, which makes this even worse.
I mean, I'm not an expert on that. So what I've heard from my brother, who's a pulmonologist, he's a lung specialist in India. His patients, in his observation, people who are vaccinated are recovering faster, and people who have good, like an active lifestyle and have like good breathwork practice, their lungs, their respiratory system is in good shape, are sort of recovering faster. But of course, the high risk population, the old age, people who are older with a lot of comorbidities, that gets exacerbated. And then I think what he said was, even when the infection is cured, so you tackle COVID, the lung tissues are getting scarred. So that kind of is like a complexity. So now it's not a COVID issue. It's becomes a lung problem, right? And you need breath. You need to be able to have a healthy set of lungs to be able to be alive. So yeah, it's very challenging and it's not easy. I think even harder than being in that situation is watching someone go through it, right? Like watching a
sense
loved
of
one.
helplessness, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to help, but we can't go there. They can't come here. We can't send stuff there. I mean, it's just like the whole thing is just so, all these lockdowns and border shutdowns and stuff makes it really difficult to lean in and help. I mean, you can help with money, like that's still moving around, but otherwise it's very difficult. And it is interesting. Like COVID is such a breathing disease, and as the breath yogi, I mean, it must be like on your mind. Do you think that there are exercises that people could and should be doing to help them be in a better spot in the unfortunate case where they might get COVID? Like, how do you think about that? And how do you talk to clients about that?
Absolutely. And you don't go to a dentist only when you have a cavity, or you don't brush your teeth when you have a cavity. You brush your teeth every day so that the cavity doesn't happen, right? Like on an average, a human being is barely using 30% of their lung capacity. We're not breathing well. I highly recommend everybody who's listening to this, and even you, Grad, I don't know if you've read it. There's a book that was recently published by this author called James Nestor. It's called Breath. And he's a journalist, and he went through the world. He's done 10 years of research on breathing practices. His doctor sent him actually to the workshop that I teach, the Sky Breath workshop, and it helped him get better. And then he got so intrigued by it. And this is his quote. He's like, no matter how much exercise you do, no matter how much organic food you eat, if you're not breathing well, you're missing out on having great health. So absolutely, there are plenty of breathwork exercises, which I think, like, if I had the power, I would be like, it's like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth and be like, oh, maybe I should brush my teeth. Like, come on, it's what's keeping you alive. Taking anywhere between 5 to 25 minutes to do your practice, it's like, think of it as compound interest. If your lungs are in good shape, they're going to serve you well into your old age.
Yeah, it's actually called Breath, the New Science of a Lost Art.
Yeah.
By James Nestor. Huh. This is
Read
interesting.
it.
Elizabeth Gilbert, who's the author of Big Magic and Eat, Pray,
Mm-hmm.
Love,
Mm-hmm.
she's got a little quote on it. She goes, a fascinating scientific, cultural, spiritual, and evolutionary history of the way humans breathe and how we've been doing it wrong for a long, long time. Wow. That sounds amazing.
The quality of our breath is dependent on our ability to exhale well.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you're exhaling well, the inhalation automatically happens. But absolutely, like, you got to exercise those muscles. Not only is it going to help you with COVID, but, the basic mechanism by which we get energy on a cellular level is, metabolism. It's like cellular respiration. And we need oxygen for that. We need to exhale the carbon dioxide. 60% of our toxins are excreted through the breath. So it's a very, very potent modality, and you're doing it all the time. I don't understand. Sometimes it actually baffles me. Like, people, when they tell me, some of my really, really busy clients, they're like, oh, no. I just have like 10 minutes today. I was like, okay, at least you're doing 10 minutes. But the days I get their text, okay, I'm going to have to miss today. I'm like, okay, like, you don't have like 5-10 minutes to breathe. Like, come on, you're already breathing.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, very important.
So how are you interacting with people that you know in India right now? What's the, you're talking to them, or what else are you doing, or how are you thinking about that?
And I'm glad you asked that question, because I was actually, before this session, I was putting together a presentation for a team, like a team leader who reached out to me. So I'm doing a session for his team tomorrow morning. And I was thinking about it, there's so much of content that we can put in it. And as I start to think about it, I was like, I don't want to give them a training. I want, in my opinion, a hallmark of a good leader is authenticity. And I think it takes a lot of tremendous amount of courage to be authentic. This situation calls for us to first be real. It's not about how you can be strong. Let's acknowledge and accept that it's a really, really hard place to be. But I'm curious to hear from you, like, Grad, if you were in India, like at this time, and if you were kind of like managing a team, what would you do? What kind of support would you need?
That's a tricky question. I have to be careful with that because, I'm not there right now, and I don't want to, Pavitar, who is there and who is managing that team, is doing an amazing job. So let me talk a little bit about what Pavitar is doing. I don't want to, I will talk a little bit about some of my leadership beliefs in times like this. And, everyone has a different way of dealing with this kind of stuff. And they're not, I don't think there's a right or wrong. There's just different styles. And I have a style that works for me that many people who work for me or with me have enjoyed, but I'm sure some don't. And there are other styles out there which, kind of probably work in different ways, right? So I'll get to that in a second. But I mean, let me just kind of credit Pavitar for a second. So Pavitar Singh, if you, I don't know if I've talked about Pavitar extensively, but Pavitar is our CTO at Sprinklr. He has been at Sprinklr for 8 years, almost since its inception, and has been working sort of hand in glove with Raji Thomas, our founder, from the very beginning, or nearly the very beginning. And Pavitar is one of those rare sort of genius CTOs. Very, very. I don't even know how Raji found him, but I would say that. And well, actually, Raji would say, again, I don't forget about what I would say. Who cares what I would say? Raji would say that a big part, if not most of the part, of Sprinklr's success is attributable to Pavitar. And I've had a chance to work with him very closely now for the last 3 years, and obviously knew him somewhat for years previously as a customer. And he is an unusual and brilliant character. And what I think is really genius about him is he's got this very unusual combination of very, very innovative engineering, insight, and thinking. So he's a brilliant engineer, exceptional, brilliant engineer. But he's also able to talk to customers in a very compelling and very effective way. He's a great people leader. He's able to, and he's grown in his people leadership. He would say that, but he's continuing. But he learns, like he's very consistently wants to learn about it, and he is fantastic at execution and getting things done and making things happen. And that's an unusual mix. Like often you'll see a brilliant engineering thinker, but maybe that's not the person you want to get the things done with. Or you'll see a brilliant engineering thinker and, oh my gosh, don't put that person in front of a customer. Or you see a brilliant engineering thinker and it's like, no, make sure they don't manage people, right? That's classically, those things are always true, right? And yet Pavitar is somehow able to cross all four of those unusual streams. So he's a singularly talented individual. And it's been interesting for me, interesting may not be quite the right word. It's been a good learning experience, is probably a better way to put it, for me to watch the way that Pavitar has been very consistently escalating the situation in India, advocating for his team, advocating for his people, doing some incredible things. I'm not sure I can even say what he's doing. I just say making calls to important people. Let's just put it that way, okay? But like really important people, and he has actually a lot of very interesting connections inside the Indian government and the Indian political spectrum, and so he's pulling every string he can and reaching in everywhere he can reach, and he is like all over this thing, 30 Ways to Sunday, and he's doing it in a calm way. He's not freaking out or panicking, but he's consistently just on it 24/7, pushing all of us on the ELT. And we didn't need a ton of pushing, but he was very like, as soon as things started to get bad, like as soon as like the first glimmers of this is different this time, he started alerting us. So probably about 2.5 weeks ago, he said, "Hey, we got a problem here and it's going to become worse." So we actually had time as an ELT to get ready for this and think about it and have plans in place, which we wouldn't have had if we had, a less engaged person in Pavitar. So I kind of tip of the hat and full kudos to Pavitar. I'm in awe of what he's doing and how he's doing it. And, I'm in my, whatever small way I can, I want to try to help and support as much as I can. And I actually, one of the things I'm enjoying about watching Pavitar work is I feel like it's reasonably consistent with my own theory, which is, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of how I handled COVID in the early stages when it occurred a year ago with my team, which is, as the leader, I think it's very important to remember that you're always on stage. You're very, very heavily watched. I tried to lead with positivity. I tried to lead with humor. I tried to lead by being relaxed and, not freaking out and not ringing the bell and saying the doom is here. Like I actually modeled behavior by, I traveled, I went places, I was out and about. I wore a mask and I used Purell. I know how to take care of myself. And, but I tried not to kind of go so deeply into it that people would freak out by seeing my own behavior. And I had a number of people on my team comment that, they said, you may not realize how much it's appreciated that you are behaving the way you are, that you're calm, that you're taking these things in stride. And whereas there's other leaders and other leadership philosophies, which is, when things get like this, freak out, and spend a ton of energy, and that's like a thing, and that can work too, I guess. But that's not for me. That doesn't work for me, and I try to model myself in a different way. So I think I see Pavitar doing that. I see Pavitar calmly leading his team, right? He's not like losing his mind over it, and he's doing everything he can to help his team and get in there and trying to make a difference. And I think as this philosophy of being a family comes to life, these are times when you really test that family philosophy. And I feel like we're at this moment, we're passing that test really well. So that's kind of a bit more of a longer answer than you may have been thinking you're getting, but that to me is sort of embodies some of the thinking I have around leadership, particularly in crisis, which is never let that crisis be something that affects you.
Yeah, no. And it's, when we talk about that leading through VUCA times, one of the most essential skills is not only being authentic and aware, but having very high degree of emotional intelligence, right? Which includes being emotionally aware of what's going and what's happening within, and then having the ability to emotionally regulate. I mean, I'm sure it's not that people don't have feelings. It's just that they have that high degree of awareness where they're then able to intervene before the thought becomes a feeling, and be able to regulate that. So it's, I don't know if you saw this World Economic Forum, they released this report about the top skills that are needed for 2025, and emotional quotient is one of them. So, and when you were talking about Pavitar, the two things that stand out to me about Pavitar are like, one, his ability to be vulnerable. He is such a champion for mental health. Like, he's been on my panel. He talks openly about it. He's such an advocate. He's really a very self-confident, courageous leader. And the second thing is his EQ is very high. He's perceptive, and he doesn't shy away from calling it what it is. So, and getting back to your question about like how I'm, sort of what my sort of proposed solution is, like, I think the three things. The first thing is mindset. The second is a set of tools. And the third is community. So having the mindset, which is like, be human. It's okay if you're feeling sad. Your colleague is in the hospital. It's going to affect you.
Raji actually said to everybody, don't worry about work. Like, worry about you, worry about your family, worry about your friends, worry about your colleagues, like that, like connect with each other. Work will be fine. We'll figure it out. Like, we'll get to that when we get to that. But right now, it's important that you take care of yourselves. That was great. That was great leadership as well, and great guidance.
I think so too. And just him saying that, I'm sure gave permission to a lot of people, because I'm sure, like, I don't know, I don't want to, give out any details, but there were questions this morning in the town hall where I think people were like, okay, if I take vacation, is this going to get, like sort of affect my overall vacation and stuff? So I think I'm so glad that he did right out of the gate sort of give everyone that permission and like champion that. So,
and Diane did a great job too, right? Diane did a really nice job of saying, hey, we're going to figure all this out, and we're going to do it in a way that's consistent with Sprinklr values. And what's great about having a culture like Sprinklr's culture, and we've been on a little bit of a journey with that over the last 5 years, right? But I think we've really got it in an amazing spot right now. And what's great about that is that when Diane says, so just in case, Diane Adams is our Chief Culture and Talent Officer. Raji Thomas is our CEO. Pavitar Singh is our CTO. But when Diane says, we're going to do it in a way that's consistent with the Sprinklr culture, the culture is now so strong that people are able to, like, they don't need to know the details anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, like I'll at some point need to know the details, but I don't need to worry about the details because I know this is going to be done in a way that's fair, that's like, there's just a whole bunch of things that are embodied in saying it's going to be done by the Sprinklr way that makes people know that they'll be treated correctly, they'll be treated like family, and they'll be treated in a way that'll be, whatever the situation requires. And that's very compelling. And it's a great spot to be in because people are always suspicious all the time, but we've got a culture now where we've consistently behaved in a way that people know how we're going to behave the next time, which is a little bit to my philosophy, right? Like you want to be consistent enough as a leader that people can start to predict how you're going to react. And I have that all the time. People say to me, I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to tell you this anyway. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing that people know what you're going to say, because it shows that you've got some consistency and they're not like, oh my God, what's going to happen this time? That's very hard for people to always sit on tenterhooks. Yeah.
No, and can't emphasize the importance of that, and that all of this uncertainty, at least something is certain. What's our approach going to be? And Diane, oh my God, like she's one of my, like she embodies.
She's the rock star of rock stars.
Like really, oh my God, like through all the things that she's personally been through, just displaying, embracing that vulnerability and also self-compassion and compassion, right? So I was talking about the mindset. So be human, vulnerability, compassion for yourself and for others. It's okay to be sad. And then the tools. So breath work, absolutely. And really taking this scope of what's in my control and what's not, right? We can't, I don't know how much control we have over making new hospitals and, all of that kind of infrastructure. But we do control. I think one of the things that I do want to press is taking responsibility for yourself, right? Like it's just like how you go in an airline and they say in the case of a crash, you wear your mask first. So,
right.
So please, like the 5 principles: hydrate, sleep enough, get enough rest, eat proper, light, digestible, nutritious meals, oxygenate, do some breath work, do some movement, and then watch your thoughts. Because, thoughts make you feel a certain way, which kind of changes the chemical balance. So getting grounded in the reality of life is, a yogic principle, a very sort of cornerstone yogic way of living is, what is the reality of life? The good times don't last forever, and the bad times also do not last forever.
So that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, it's like look back at our own life, there've been so many crises, and like, I don't want to name them, but it seemed so hard. But, that's the one thing about human race. Adversity makes us reach a whole new level. So, but at the same time, even the hard times don't last forever. So it's hard, but staying grounded and watching our thoughts. Okay, what is always coming back, like what's in my control and what's not. And
you made a comment a few minutes ago about compassion, and I'm not sure you contrasted it, but there's pity and there's compassion.
Yes.
Would you mind spending like 2 minutes on that? Like just because I think people go to pity very quickly, and I think there's a big difference between pity and compassion. And could you just expand on that a little bit? Think about, tell me how you think about those as different elements.
Yeah. And in fact, it's one of the cornerstones of yoga, right? How do we deal? Like yoga is a system of high vitality living. So you're friends with the people who are happy. You have compassion for people who are going through hard times. And the difference between compassion and pity, in my opinion, is pity comes with this notion of, oh, poor thing. It's a little disempowering. Like, oh, poor thing, what's going to happen to you? Compassion comes with the thing that I know it's hard, but I also know you can go through it. You got this. It's like watching a butterfly being birthed. So, you're going through the metamorphosis. It's not pleasant, but they're going to turn into a butterfly. So like, it's hard, but I know you're grounded in the reality of life that this is not all what it is. This is going to change because everything changes. Change is the one constant. So coming from that space of, oh, okay, this is going to change. And if this person is facing this challenge, then they absolutely have the ability to face it and overcome it. So then it's almost like, like how when the child is trying to study and crying, like, I don't understand, and the mother's like, you can do it, continue, you can do it, come on, keep going. So it's a little bit of an encouragement, but at the same time, you're not acknowledging their feelings. It's hard. Does that make sense? Do you see
I like
the
that
difference?
a lot.
Okay.
I like that a lot, actually. It's really neat. So let's talk a little bit about, next steps. There is a PM Cares site in India. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Yeah, I have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's the Prime Minister's Citizen Assistance and Relief and Emergency Situations Fund. So it's aimed at strengthening the fight against COVID-19 and research. And so Modi's saying, hey, let's donate here. And so you can donate as a citizen, domestic donations. They also will take foreign donations on credit and debit cards, and they'll take foreign donations in wire transfers and SWIFT payments. This feels like the right place to donate. This sort of kind of goes to like the top of the pyramid. And there's and they've got kind of an app on COVID-19 tracking and citizen volunteers and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's sort of like where I'm gonna throw some money against that today. But what else would you recommend in terms of if you've got people in India that you care about, people that you want to help? What would you also recommend people do?
Yeah, I would say like the three things. Acknowledge it's hard. You don't have to pretend like you have to have it together. It's a hard time. And then please take responsibility for yourself. It's not selfish. It's actually the most responsible thing to do. And reach out, lean in. You don't have to do this alone. We may not have like a magic wand, but that can make all the problems go away. But that's the beauty of the human experience. We go through it together, and we will get through it together. So you're not alone. And those would be my three things. Acknowledge,
I like that. That's great.
Yeah, acknowledge, accept, take responsibility, do the things that you can do, especially to take care of yourself, and then what you can do to help others. And that would also in itself help a lot with the spread, right? Like, if don't put yourself in harm's way, and lean in on the community, be there for someone, reach out to someone if you need, even if you just, want to talk about stuff. Sometimes it just helps to share the burden.
All right. Okay. Well, Neha, that was great. An important episode. And, I think we had an interesting discussion around leadership, the challenges that India is facing. Obviously, that's a leadership issue as well for India. And we'll be watching closely. If you can donate to PM Cares, do that. If you want to help in other ways and you've got some ideas that we don't have right now, please send them our way. You can ping us on kind of any channel that we're on, and I'm on all of them. But just probably DM me on Twitter is probably the best way, which is @GradCon, GradConn. And Neha, any last thoughts? Do you want to end on a breath thought of some kind? Okay,
absolutely,
let's do that.
Absolutely. So I want to let's do the full abdominal breath.
Nice. Okay.
Let's do the full abdominal breath. You can do it lying down if you're tired of sitting, or you can do it sitting.
It's been a long day, but I'm going to stay sitting.
Okay.
If I lie down, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, no, I hope not another surgery. That's a bad joke.
Yeah, no more surgeries today. Okay. I'm holding off. I got my MRI the other day. It was disastrous. Oh my God. My knee is a complete mess. I'll have to read my MRI. I'll do that in one of my upcoming episodes. I'm going to read my MRI results out.
The one you just had surgery on?
No, that one's fine now. The right knee is
Okay.
just like an absolute, like
Oh.
oh my gosh, it's a
Eh,
hornet's nest inside there. Yeah, so I'm surprised I'm walking on it actually. But yeah, it's pretty compelling MRI
Yeah, and you're
results.
doing so much Pilates and stuff.
I'm fine. I'm actually. I mean,
Okay.
I've learned how to isolate the pain of it, and I've had it in a separate drawer, and I keep that drawer shut most of the time. But I was
Yeah.
actually I couldn't help but share it with my girlfriend, and she like instantly started treating me nicer. So it was great. I got some pity out of the gate, which is great.
Oh,
Anyway, so
okay.
let's do that. So
So
I'm gonna stay
let's,
sitting, but if you're gonna lie down,
okay.
lie down. Okay.
Okay, so let's close the eyes if you're comfortable. And if you want to keep your eyes open, then just, like 30 degrees, fix your gaze at an object about 30 degrees in front of you and place your palms on your thighs. Bring your attention inwards. And let's just start with a quick check in. How are you breathing right now? How's the breathing? Is it short? Is it shallow? Are you breathing deeply? Is the breath choppy? Is it smooth? With just no judgment, we're just simply becoming aware. Notice how much of, like, what's the movement in the chest. And take a normal breath in. And exhale, relax. And for the abdominal breath, bring your right palm, place it on your stomach, and you can take your left palm and place it on your chest. And now we'll breathe in. And as you breathe in, let the air expand the waist fully in all directions. Imagine like making your waist broader. And then you breathe into the chest, expanding the chest in all directions. And you breathe in till your collarbones lift up. And then you exhale, pull the navel in, and imagine you have a belt around your waist and it's making your waist tiny. So you're squeezing the air out of your lower lobes and then squeeze the air out of your chest. Breathe out fully till you can breathe out no more. And then we'll do this a few times. So let's get started. Palms in position, right palm on your belly, left palm on your chest. And for the abdominal breath, through the nose, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold the breath. Let the air expand the belly, the chest. And as you breathe out, pull the navel in, make your waist tiny. Squeeze the air out of your lungs. Breathe out fully. And breathe in, 2. Continue, let the air expand the waist fully, forward, sideways. Breathe into the chest, expand it forward. Breathe in till your collarbones lift up. And as you exhale, strong contraction in the belly, pull it in, make your waist tiny, and squeeze the air out of your lungs. Breathe out fully. And let's continue. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till your collarbones lift up. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4 till your collarbones lift up. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last 2. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4 till your collarbones lift up. Exhale, strong contraction in the navel. pull the belly button in, make your waist tiny, squeeze that last bit of air out. Last one, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And relax. Keep your eyes closed for a moment. You can relax the palms, place them on your thighs. And now notice the quality of your breath. Notice maybe the breath is a little more deeper, a little bit more fuller, and a little bit more effortless. Notice the state of your mind. And just bring your attention inwards and let's just send some positive energy to everybody in India. May everybody have the strength to go through these challenging times. May they find the resources, the support, the courage, and may they be healthy. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, bring your palms together, rub them gently, generate some heat, and place them on your eyes. Let the eyes absorb the heat. And when you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Are you breathing a little bit deeper?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Pilates helps a lot because it's a very breathing oriented thing, but
yeah,
it was good. It's like I think by the end of a day of 12 hours of Zoom meetings, it's probably a good idea to have a reminder on how to breathe. All right. So Neha, that was a good episode today. Our thoughts go out and our feelings go out and our hearts go out to everyone in India, and particularly our fellow Sprinklerites. And if you need help or if you need anything, please hit me up on Slack or any other channel that you want to. I'm here. And I'm sure the same is true for you, Neha. And we will sort of check in a week. For everyone else listening, have a great week. Breathe.
And breathe, yes. Please.
Breathe, yes.
And
be thankful for the amazing lives that you lead. All right. For the CXM Experience, I'm Grad Khan. Goodbye, Neha. See you next week. And I will see you next time.